You've got to take responsibility for the energy that you allow in your life. I want you to fend off negativity as much as humanly possible. You know, we know so much more about the brain than we did just 20 years ago. Neuroscience has taught us incredible things, like that our brains are continuously shaped by our thoughts and our experiences. And you know this to be true. Negativity is one of the most toxic forces on the planet. It's toxic for your brain, for your nervous system, and for your ability to stay motivated. Do me this favor. Do not solicit or listen to the opinions of people who are notorious for just being Debbie Downers. The one mistake that I've seen people make consistently is they almost habitually talk to the exact person who is the most likely to shoot them down and make them feel like crap. So don't do that. And here's another key. I want you to always consider the source, meaning don't put a lot of stock into other people's opinions unless they're actually out there consistently taking risks and being brave and actually making things happen. I mean, if you think about it, let's say you wanted to climb Mount Everest. Would you ever take advice from someone who's never even attempted the summit? No, of course not. That would be crazy. So don't take advice from anyone unless you really think it through.
Need motivation?
What's the top 10 with the Forleo Nation?
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle.
But you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best.
So today, let's learn from one of the best, Marie Forleo, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, be courageous.
The courage came from pain. And here's what I mean by that. When I first started out, I was trying so hard to be someone else because I had this idea in my mind that I probably formed when I was a little girl about what a successful businesswoman looked like, how she should act. And it was involved with this. Again, this is like taking it back. I grew up in the 80s, right? So I imagined a successful businesswoman would probably like have some corner office in a high-rise building in New York City and have like a suit with shoulder pads and like wear high heels and pantyhose and walk around in a very authoritative, like an authority voice, you know, like just like strong and talking and blah, 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 blah. And also there's a big thing for me about like intelligence and high levels of education. I'm the first in my family to go to college, and I'm from Jersey, and I don't always use proper language. I fumble over my words just like I just did. And when I tried to create content, when I first started off, it was so stilted. It was so stiff. It had no personality. And guess what? It had no results. It was terrible. And so the pain of like working so hard and not having anything work and feeling like I was banging my head against the wall. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't be this professional business person. And the other thing was this, I was so young when I started coaching. So I was 23 years old and I was completely aware of how ridiculous this was. Who the hell is going to hire a 23-year-old life coach? Like I hadn't even lived life yet. I had piles of debt. I had failed in all these different careers. Like nothing made sense, but I had the heart. And so the big shift came when I had banged my head against the wall so many times trying to be like different than who I was to get people to like me. And I was like, this is bullshit. I can't do this. I'm not built this way. I have no filter. If people are going to like actually want to hire the real me, they need to see the real me. And that was the shift. I really had no other choice because it felt like I was dying a slow death to try and pretend to be someone else who I really wasn't.
Rule number 3, think like an entrepreneur.
Should I get a degree with a secure job at the end of it? So little reality check for you, my love. Those days are over. There's really no such thing as a secure job anymore. I think if you take a look around at what's happening in the world, you go into any Starbucks and you'll see some lawyers and some stockbrokers networking out of there who would totally back me up on this. Paige, I know you said you want to start your own business, and that's awesome. But for everyone else, even if you don't want to start your own business, hear me on this. Entrepreneurship is a mindset that everyone on the planet needs. If you want to thrive now and in the future, the only people that are going to really make it in this world are people that'll take initiative, that'll take action, and that think and behave like entrepreneurs. And one of the first and most important things about that is getting real comfortable with not giving a flying fudge what other people think about you. Let me take you back in my own life. I was only a few years older than you when I decided that I wanted to be a life coach. Now, you got to get this. This was back when no one even heard of a life coach. Those words, life coach, made as much sense to people as dream farmer or potato doctor. And exhale. You still getting baked? Just turn your head and cough for me. Plus, I was 23 years old. I mean, who in their right mind would hire a 23-year-old life coach? Even I was rolling my eyes at myself. The point is, don't let anyone's bullshit opinions or judgments about what you can't do, especially your own, stop you from following your dreams. You will never do anything great in your life if you've got this song stuck in your head.
Judging eyes, they're judging you. They judge your every move. Hey, judging eyes, they're judging you. Judging eyes, they're judging you, judging you, judging you, judging you.
Paige, you say you want to plan parties and events, so get to it, woman. Don't wait for people to give you permission or until you have some degree. Just find somebody who needs a party plan and plan the confetti out of it. And then you do another, and then another, and then another, and then all of a sudden, Mazel tov, you are a party planner. Now, in terms of education, I am 100% for education. In fact, I always advocate for people to be lifelong learners. But don't limit your education to only what you can learn in the classroom. You should consider getting a job or two with more established event planners so you can really learn about the industry from the inside out. And then there's one more thing, and this is my final and perhaps more important piece of advice. You've got to be really conscious of who you surround yourself with. You got to get rid of everybody who's negative and all the naysayers. So if that means getting some new friends, definitely do it. And you also want to feed yourself some really positive things to your mind and your body and your soul day after day.
Rule number 4, frame your dreams.
Frame your dream. And here's what this means. We can't become what we can't envision. So when I say frame your dream, what I mean is I want you to take a picture of it in your mind's eye in vivid, specific detail. And then what I want you to do is translate that picture into words, meaning write down that big, unrealistic dream. And I know that you may have heard about the power of writing things down before, but the truth is most people just don't do it, which is so crazy because the research is conclusive on this. There was a study done by Dr. Gail Matthews that shows that you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down. So what I want you to do is whip out your journal or hop on that keyboard and get writing.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Rule number 5, find your confidence.
I think that particular story, I was around like 7 or 8 years old. So I was a young child and it was a little precocious thing to do. So at that age, the only thing I could potentially attribute it to, and this is, pure speculation, is a natural knowing. I think that divine connection that we all have to something greater than ourselves. I feel in many ways like part of my life is to simply be a channel and to listen and then to speak and share. And so the confidence and certainty, I also want to say this. I feel like I oftentimes embody radically opposing things at the same time. So while a lot of people may watch our videos or even read the book or see my newsletters or social and be like, oh my gosh, she's so confident. I need to be real I'm also terribly filled with self-doubt. I'm also a person that questions myself. I'm also a person that sits back and goes like, I don't know, is this any good? Like, I don't think it's any good to you guys. Are you going to really like this? So both of those things can coexist. I think that once I've had a chance to grapple with something for a little while and also like road test it, meaning I've had a chance to play with people, use concepts in real life, work with them, coach with them, see how things actually come out, how it impacts them and helps them create results, then the confidence builds quite naturally. So that happened for me when I started as a coach. Again, I knew internally this is what I wanted to do, but I was very aware that I was like, I don't know crap, right? Like I have to build up that track record over time. Same thing with like a program like B-School. I am very confident when we go into we only open it, once a year. When we go into our promotional period, I get really fired up, Vision, and it's not false bravado. It's because I'm like, I've graduated 64,000 people. And I've literally been approached in grocery stores from women who were on the verge of homelessness, who now run multiple six-figure businesses. And they tell me like their children's education are completely funded. So when I get fired up about anything, like again, about this book, I'm like, no, y'all, I've road tested this. Please, for the love of all things holy, just give it a try. You don't have to believe it. Try it before you deny it though, because this is good. So I think any confidence that you detect, one, I just want to underscore, it was born from terrible insecurity that I still carry around with me now, and a lot of self-doubt anytime I'm starting something new or I'm stretching into a new zone. And then the confidence side just comes from also, I've been doing this now for 20 years. Like starting in 1999 and it's now 2021. I think that's one of the best things about maturity. And that's one of the best things about age is like, you're like, I've been around the block a few times and I've seen a couple things and I've fallen on my face. So it's all going to be okay. And I think probably one of the other things, again, not to push it, but Vision, I know you and I are both such fans of books. One of the byproducts of adopting the belief that everything is figureoutable is what I'd like to call remarkable resilience. And also a bit of courage, because this belief, this notion that everything is figureoutable is so a part of my cellular DNA that I literally feel unstoppable. Not unstoppable in the sense that everything's going to go my way, because it certainly does not. And not unstoppable in the sense that I'm like better than anybody else, but unstoppable in this sense that if there is something that I want to learn or experience or achieve or help bring about, I am 100% certain that if I'm committed to that, we will figure it out. We will find a way or we will make a way. And when you have that core belief embedded in you, which is what we teach you how to do in the book, it shifts everything. Because look at how much our world, Vision, is filled with uncertainty and filled with fear. And uncertainty, that's natural, right? We kind of kid ourselves into believing we have some sense of control. But when you have this bedrock belief that everything is figureoutable, when you believe in yourself that much, all of a sudden, you're able to stand in the tornado of uncertainty because you know without a shadow of a doubt that whatever comes down the pike, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how much you cry, no matter how much pain or suffering or confusion or doubt there is, you are going to rise and you will make it through. It doesn't cost you anything not to believe in yourself. It costs you nothing to believe in yourself, but it costs you everything not to.
Rule number 6, set your priorities.
So many things in life can feel urgent, but they're not. So a few examples: checking email, answering calls or texts, even from clients, and social media. Urgent things demand our attention now, and they can get really addictive because we all want to feel wanted. Now, many of us also like a little hit of drama and adrenaline, which email and social and text and things like that happily deliver. And finally, things that are urgent often relate to other people's goals, not our own. But important things are different. Important things are quiet. There's no alarms, there's no drama. Important things often relate to our own goals and dreams, not other people. And unfortunately, it requires us to be self-starters, and important things are often easy to blow off.
Hey Marie, are we still hanging out today, or?
She's busy. Sorry.
Okay, I'll hit you up tomorrow, see where you're at.
we'll see. We'll see about that. Yeah. We have stuff to do. The first order of business, let's check Twitter. Cool, right? Yeah.
Now, Angela, I know you got clients to attend to and work that pays the bills, and sometimes, yes, that is urgent. However, you do have enough time to create your art and reach your goals as long as you work on what's important first and save what's urgent for a little bit later. Here's how to do this now. Before you get going each day, I want you to take a look at your to-do list, and you're gonna mark each task with either an I or a U. I is for important and U is for urgent. And then work on all the I stuff first and save the U stuff till later. Now you gotta remember, the urgent stuff is always gonna get done because it has to, but this method ensures that your important tasks don't fall to the wayside. And unless somebody is seriously hurt or your house is on fire, if something urgent tries to take your attention, ignore it until your important work is done for the day.
Rule number 7, aim for more.
One of the biggest challenges that most of us go through when we're starting to explore spirituality and discovering the whole idea of being super grateful for what you have is we can feel guilty about wanting more. It's almost as if, oh, I really have to just, be okay with everything I have now, which is great, but it's human to want to create. It's human to want to grow, to want to explore, to expand and take in more. And I just want to make a little note here. Wanting more doesn't always equate to materialism. It doesn't always mean toys. You could want to touch more lives. You could want to expand your ability to love. So wanting more in and of itself is nothing that you should shy away from. And I absolutely believe with my heart and soul that you can be extremely grateful for what you have and go balls to the wall with your dreams. So I have a few strategies to share with you that will help you accomplish this. In my lovely book called Make Every Man Want You, How to Be So Irresistible You'll Barely Keep From Dating Yourself, which, by the way, we're gonna give you a free audio download, Missy, just because you asked such a great question. I talk about a concept called This Is It. This is it really means that you treat this moment like it's the most amazing moment of your life. You look around in your world and you just make it the best it can possibly be. So in short, wherever you're at, that's where the party is. So if you find yourself standing in line at a bank and there's a really long line and everyone else is cranky, this is it. This is your moment. So you're gonna party with it. You're gonna hang out. You're gonna have a great time, talk to people on the line, really appreciate where you're at. But that doesn't stop you, the whole this is it mentality doesn't stop you from having big dreams that you're also gonna pursue. So it's a matter of just finding that balance, but you can absolutely do it. And don't let anyone tell you that you're ungrateful for what you have if you have big dreams and ambitions. So one more little note, and it's about complaining. This is a great way to just basically check yourself before you wreck yourself. Chickadee, chickadee, check yourself before you wreck yourself. If you catch yourself complaining, you've slipped out of the modality of being grateful for what you have, and it's gonna be really hard to really attract great things or be really ambitious or have the energy you need to achieve those big dreams. So use complaining as a bit of a barometer. If you find yourself saying, oh, this sucks, my current client sucks, my boyfriend sucks, blah, 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 not so good. Stop it, don't beat yourself up, but just get back into the grateful mode and keep kicking ass toward your dreams.
Rule number 8, take risks.
First things first, if you don't make the change right now, you're right, you will pass along all that self-doubt to your kids. If they see you as someone who's not willing to take risks, as someone who's not gonna go for their dreams, you're gonna wind up creating your own family of realists. And what I mean by that is people who are unwilling to go for their dreams, unwilling to be unreasonable. And here's the thing, Kristen, as you know, sometimes the best things in life come when we're being unreasonable. On the other hand, if your kids see you taking action and going after your dreams and being willing to embarrass yourself every once in a while, they're gonna get the message that it's safe for them to take risks and to go after their dreams instead of just dreaming about them. Here's the other thing about what's missing from your life, Kristen. What's missing is fun. Just because you're in a slump, it doesn't mean that you've outgrown your house or your marriage or a job. All it means is that you've outgrown your tolerance for leading a boring-ass life. We human beings need to be creative. We need the adventure and the excitement and the variety that comes from creative endeavors. And when I was reading your question, that little line that you have about dancing, that you wish you could dance, you wish you could sing, tells me that you are creatively malnourished. You are starving right now. And look, you don't have to go audition for X Factor or do anything crazy like that. You can just start singing in your shower if you want, or you can take dance breaks at the office. I'll give you an example from my own life. I am a bit of a closet hippie, and in the past year, I've been starting to go to drumming circles. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I love it. Sure, I could have let the fear of looking stupid stop me, but when has that stopped me before?
Rule number 9, deal with criticism.
Do not give anyone the power to make you feel worthless. Nobody. As Eleanor Roosevelt famously said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And there's no place that this is more true than with criticism. Now, here's an exercise that I want you to try, Anne-Marie. It's called Give Your Critics the Mic. So not literally on the stage, but give them a voice on the page, meaning in your journal or on a legal pad or on a computer. Wherever you like to write privately, I want you to go off on yourself. So write out the exact words you think it would crush you to hear. So what could anyone say about you that you would consider bad? Would they say you've got a weak voice, that you're too old to be doing this, that your songs are just bubblegum pop, dreck, that you're pitchy? Got that one from American Idol. Would they say you're a wannabe Katy Perry or a poor man Stevie Nicks? If you've already heard hurtful things, you can include those. Then take a deep breath in and out and read it to yourself. Or if you've got a creative soulmate who just gets it, you can read it aloud to them. Then, boom! The worst that anyone could say about you, you've already said. You've faced it. Now, I want to be clear. The point of this is not to trash your self-esteem. It's to bring your fears out into the light, because when you do that, they lose all of their power. Just like the boogeyman, that shadow in the corner you thought was a big scary ghoul turns out to be a freaking coat rack.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is be consistently consistent.
Most of us struggle with being more consistent in some part of our lives, and it's really worth working on because the rewards of being consistent are huge. So that being said, here are 5 secrets to help you be more consistently consistent. Number 1 is keep your eye on your why. In order to really stay connected to what you're doing over the long haul, you have to have a clear, compelling vision for what you're trying to achieve and know why you want to do it. So for example, it's a lot easier to keep saving consistently if you're saving for something important to you, like your first house or a once-in-a-lifetime trip. You know, when I think about MarieTV, this is a big commitment and we're in our 5th season, and it's not easy to keep doing this week after week. But I am committed because I'm clear on my why. This show is really the soul of my brand, and it's the primary way that I get to make a difference to as many people as possible around the world. And that's really important to me. So that's my why, and it is always in my eye. Number 2 is pick your battle. Now notice, I didn't say battles, I said battle. So I want you to pick one thing and just stick with that. The reason why is that we human beings have limited capacity when it comes to willpower and discipline. In fact, studies show that doctors recommend you do not try to do something like quit smoking and quit sugar at the same time, or you're going to fail at both. And I tend to agree. So pick one thing, and once you really make that a habit and you win that battle, then you can add on something else. Number 3 is schedule it. The late Stephen Covey said this, and it is a major, major secret to consistency. Don't prioritize your schedule, schedule your priorities. So this subtle distinction is so important. When you're trying to make something consistent in your life, you want to really build your whole life around it rather than trying to fit it in. You know, when it comes to MarieTV, the reason that this gets done so consistently is that we schedule it and we build our entire year around it. So everybody who works on MarieTV, we have these dates for the year. They are sacred, they're non-negotiable, and this is gonna happen come hell or high water. Hey, it's Marie Forleo. You're watching MarieTV, the place to be to create a business and life you love. It's Days. Q&A Tuesday. Keep rolling. Number 4 is ignore your feelings. Now, this is probably the only time you're going to ever hear me say this, but when it comes to developing consistency, it's pretty darn important to ignore the voice in your head that says, "Wah, I don't feel like it." I mean, anytime you're trying to be consistent at something worthwhile, like working out or meditating or painting or whatever, it's guaranteed you're going to hear that voice. "Wah, I don't feel like it." I mean, I hear that voice all the time. There are some days, as much as I love what I do, I don't feel like going to work. I don't feel like doing much of anything. But I've trained myself to override that whole voice in my head because I know the power of consistency. Now, if you've been consistent with something for a long time, or you're just clear that whatever you're up to, you're just done with it, that is fine. You can totally pay attention to your feelings, close that chapter, and move on. However, if you're still trying to develop consistency and the deeper part of you knows you really do want to keep going, please, for the love of all things holy, ignore your feelings. You can tell them, "Bye, Felicia."
Bye, Felicia.
Number 5 is catch that wagon. So don't have an all or nothing mindset. Don't think that if you miss one day meditating or you miss one workout that you're a total failure. When it comes to falling off the wagon, that's fine, and you probably will. We all do. This is where I think you're getting tripped up though. I think you're spending so much time beating up on yourself that you fell off the wagon, that the wagon is just leaving into the distance and you're not getting back on it. So make sure you run and catch that wagon. And if you need a little extra inspiration, remember this tweetable.
I worked so hard to get my business off the ground, and I was often working 7 days a week, not just coaching, like that was a portion of what I did, but to keep a roof over my head, it was bartending, it was waiting tables, it was like being a personal assistant, cleaning people's toilets, whatever I needed to do in order to pay my rent, put food on the table and actually continue to grow the business. So I basically developed a habit of working nonstop. And
before MarieTV.
Oh yeah, like getting the business off the ground. I worked side
gigs.
You were
like a fitness coach. You did like dance instructions. You did everything.
I was a Nike Elite dance athlete. I, taught anywhere from like 3 to 7 classes a week at Crunch Fitness. Some of them were choreographed. Some of them were basic fitness. I had the coaching clients. I was doing the content, and I was bartending and waiting tables. So I had developed this habit of nonstop work because that was what was necessary at that time.
New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm always focused on the long game. I think these days, a lot of people want Insta results. They want to be Instagram famous. They want to have like $1 billion business overnight. And if you're just starting out, you've never run a business, you've never created content, you've never sold, marketed, built a team, done any of these things before, to expect instant results, it's immature. It's unrealistic. You're never going to get there. And some of the people I admire most in the world, no matter what their craft is, dude, they're in it for the long game. They're not sitting around going like, why can't I get higher conversions by tomorrow? It's like, that's not how this works, man. And if you're looking for that type of result, it's just like, I'm not interested in hanging with those kind of people. I think we get better over time. I think you have to really be patient. I think people have to understand, especially when it comes to any so-called like glamorous type career, or people, maybe things that people perceive are glamorous, whether it's something like what you and I do, an athlete, an entertainer. Do you know what 90% of the work is? Grunt work. That's what it is. It's unglamorous. Sometimes people are like, I want to see what you do more. I'm like, you want to see what I do more? I'm sitting with a messy bun in my sweatpants, sometimes not showering for 3 goddamn days because I'm hammering shit out. That's what I do. I love it. But if you're not willing to put in that kind of work, you're not going to get the outcomes on the other side.
What will you regret if it's 2030, we're doing this again, sitting here, and you're like, I'm really upset at myself because I didn't do this in my personal life, in my business, my health, my family, the world?
Yes. I would say the only thing I could foresee at this moment not regretting is not continuing to take that quality time with people I love. That would be the thing that if for whatever reason I started making justifications
right.
to
well,
change.
This opportunity is so amazing, so I gotta go here and
correct.
do this.
That would be the only thing, to be super
Really?
transparent with you. Yeah, because looking back on these past 10 years, the quality time with people that I love is everything. And I know this so viscerally in my body, is that we're not going to be here forever. And we never know when the people that we love gone. And so for me, there is nothing more important than maintaining and enriching and deepening those personal, like friend relationships, Josh, my family, like making sure that I show up as fully as possible and not letting anything take me off track from that. Because it's, you know, having not had money and, you know, starting with like tons of debt and building everything from the ground up and now being in a different position, it's like I can see so clearly the success on an exterior level, like that's amazing and I'm grateful for it, but nothing can make up for not having a sense of love in your life and not having people that you care about and that you're invested in. So there's nothing that I could strive for or reach for that's going to be more important than this.
You had a quote about this and you said, beliefs are the hidden scripts that run our lives. And that's one of those, if you could get people to really internalize the fact that right now, your whole life is being dictated by the beliefs that you have.
Yes.
How do you help people unwind those beliefs? How do you help them replace them with more powerful beliefs? Because that is like a layer of the operating system that is so wildly underappreciated. That's almost always where I start with people.
Yeah, it has to be. I think for all of us. I think the first thing for us to go to is that recognizing that beliefs are a choice and every choice can be changed.
Yes.
So beliefs are a choice and every choice can be changed.
Do people react like you're crazy when you say that?
You know, I haven't floated that out enough in a big enough audience to see people like, I don't believe it.
I'm dying to know how people respond to this.
Well, let's see.
Because I really think people think that beliefs are recognition of truth. And that to try to change your beliefs is to try to deny the truth in some way.
Well, I mean, for anyone watching who ever believed in Santa Claus, right? Like you believed things, I'm certain that, I know I have, like you believed things when you were younger, even if you weren't a child, if you were a teenager or you were a young adult, that now experience or wisdom or something has shown you, no, that's not actually the truth. Anyway, my point is this. We collectively have believed things both individually and as a society over time that we've changed our beliefs. So I think that that is proof positive that our beliefs are a choice and those choices can indeed be changed. You know, obviously there is the phenomenon known as confirmation bias, which is the brain's it tends to reinforce what we already believe and then ignore information consciously or subconsciously that doesn't match what we already believe, which is often why whenever we're having conversations about really delicate topics, like it could be about gun control or reproductive rights or race, and they just evolve so fast because people hunker down in their belief bunkers and they're unwilling to see another point of view. But I do hold fast to the fact that all beliefs are a choice and choices can be changed. And here's what else is cool. You know this because you're so immersed in the world of personal development. You're someone who is so committed to learning and growth. Over the years, I've read more personal development books than you can like just shake a tree at. And oftentimes, part of the exercise is like you have to go hunt down all of your limiting beliefs, right? So if you want to become this powerful person and be the best that you can be, you need to find every single limiting belief and then change it and do all these different things. Here's what I realized when writing this book. You actually don't need to do that. I have a time-saving tool because everybody needs to save some time and to make this really effective and efficient. If you adopt the belief that everything is figureoutable and you take that on for yourself, you don't need to go hunting down all your limiting beliefs because that one thing is like the master key that handles everything below it. It's almost like flipping a switch in your consciousness where then everything else becomes possible. So let's say if you're like, oh, everything is figureoutable, you bump into something in your relationship that feels like it's problematic. You're like, oh, I could figure this out. You don't need to go necessarily looking for all those limiting beliefs. You may eventually uncover them and that's cool. You can kind of clean them out. But you don't have to do all this front end work. Adopt this one. It's like the master key and it'll help you achieve anything you want for the rest of your life. This is not like hype. I'm dead serious on this. I think one of the biggest ways that all of us can hold ourselves back is listening to that nasty little lie inside our head that says, I'm not ready yet. I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough credentials. Who am I to do X, Y, or Z? And then we just delay. And before you know it, months, if not years have gone by and we haven't made any real progress. This was true for me. When I started my coaching career, one of the things I discovered was that I just didn't want to be a coach. I've never really fit a traditional mode. And from doing all the personal development work to train myself to be the best coach I could be, I realized I have other passions. I love spirituality. I love writing. I love digital business, which was very new in the early 2000s. And I also love hip hop and dance.
Yeah.
And so when I was 25, I finally gave myself permission to go take my first official dance class. I never had an official class as a kid. I never took ballet or did any of that stuff. I just moonwalked across my mom's floor, right? And just loved hip hop music. But starting in the dance world at 25, sounds odd, but you're kind of over the hill.
Yeah.
Because most professional dancers have been doing it since they popped out of the womb.
Right.
And by the time they're 17, 18, they're going on tour with the hottest artists of the day. So the reason I'm telling the story is it relates to Start Before You're Ready. So I'd finally gotten up the gumption to go start taking classes. My teachers told me, they're like, you're pretty good. You should try and teach. And by the way, this was in a gym environment. So Crunch Fitness in New York City, that's where I was taking classes because I could afford it.
Okay.
And I started becoming a substitute hip hop dance teacher. And again, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just felt like I was out of place, but here's what happened.
That's crazy.
One of my first dance classes that I ever taught solo, when I got done with it, this woman walked up to me and I was still sweating. I was trying to catch my breath and she said, you're really good. I was like, thank you, that's amazing. She said, I work for MTV and we're looking for a choreographer / producer. I think you should come in and meet my boss. Now, Ed, in that moment, I was so green in the dance world. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So my brain was going, I'm not ready for this.
Yes.
Why couldn't this opportunity come 2 or 3 or 4 years later when I know what the hell I'm doing? I'm better prepared. I could actually show up and maybe even land this gig. But here's what I realized. In my mind, I was like, you're already 25, which is over the hill in the dance world. And the only chance you're ever gonna have to see if this could actually be a viable career for you is if you do this. So I remember standing outside of the Viacom building in New York City, wanting to throw up in the trash can because I was so nervous because I didn't feel ready, but I pushed myself, finally got up to that office, I knocked on the door, I just did my best in the meeting, and you know what? I got the gig.
So cool.
And here's the thing. That one experience of being hired as a choreographer / producer, by the way, I still didn't know what I was doing. When I was working with dancers that had 10 times more experience than I did, I was embarrassed because I didn't know all the terms. I didn't perform I did the best I could do in that moment, but there were a lot of things that I didn't know. My naivete did show. However, my growth and learning curve, man, it skyrocketed. And that one experience changed the entire trajectory of my career. It led to me eventually becoming a Nike Elite dance athlete, one of the first in the world. It led to fitness videos, choreographing commercials for Nike and Reebok and all of this stuff that would have never happened if I didn't start before I was ready.
Yeah, that just devastating sense of loss. It's pretty crazy how fast that'll snap you out of some bullshit.
Oh, it will snap you out of some bullshit. And it will stop you from being in a temper tantrum. And you can use that same notion. Again, some people might say this is incredibly morbid. I say it's incredibly inspiring. I say if you can use it to wake yourself up out of that slumber of staying in your temper tantrum or being pissed at your parents or pissed at your friends or pissed at someone who, again, if you can see them as an innocent doing the best that they possibly could with whatever tools and understanding and beliefs and thoughts that they had in that moment, you can find a way to transcend, to reconnect to your heart and to be that love that you really are.
And then in the company, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but one day I was in New York and I was having like a really bad PMS craving for carbs. I was just like, mama needs some carbs. And I was feeling like a croissant. And there was this great little French bakery around the corner that I had never been to. And I'm like, I'm gonna go get my croissant right now. So I roll up to this little French bakery and on the window, there was like this handmade sign that said, off for vacation back, July 18th. And it was like this 2-week thing.
Wow. You were like, what?
And I was like, wait, what?
Your business, you need to be here.
Yes. And yet it was empty. And this simple little like hand-drawn sign. And in that moment, Louis, I had this notion. I was like, wait a minute, I'm running this digital company. I have all of these amazing, beautiful, gorgeous souls that I work with. And we're producing content once a week, every week, nonstop. When do we ever take a break? And the advantage for me, like Josh, who works in entertainment, like series, sometimes they'll have, you watch your favorite series. Like I love Handmaid's Tale. I love Stranger Things. You see 11 or 12 episodes and
wait a year.
And yes. And then they're off for a little while, right? And I thought to myself, why do I not have downtime built into my business? And this was about the time when also there was just a cultural uprising with like, hustle 24/7 and you have to work nonstop and like never take a break and I'll sleep when I'm dead. And I'm like, those are horrible messages for your health. So we decided after I had my croissant craving, I told my director of operations, I said, starting right now, we're going to close the company down for 2 weeks in the summer and 2 weeks in the winter, and in addition to people's already having
vacation
their vacation time. And we started that, I guess maybe, 5-6 years ago. I might be wrong on those dates, but a good number of time ago. And so our company goes dark twice a year. And now the company's at a place where not everyone in customer service takes off those exact same 2 weeks, so they stagger so that we can take care of people. But everyone has 2 weeks of dark time, 2 weeks of dark time. And what's great about that is that you don't get FOMO, thinking that you're off and there's all these other things happening and there's projects moving ahead and there's these things that you want to be in on, but you're like feeling that tension because the rest of the company is moving ahead and you're trying to relax. So it's been a game changer for us.
It was kind of interesting when we were creating the book and started selling it actually into foreign markets. They're like, well, how are we going to define this word? Everything is figureoutable because it doesn't translate into other languages. And I was like, okay, it is achievable. It means that something is possible. We started playing with all these words. But I think to answer the second question of how this phrase came about, I'm taking it back to Jersey, taking it back to the 80s, and taking it back to my mom, who is like this interesting character. So she's about 5'3". She looks like June Cleaver, and she curses like a truck driver. She grew up in the projects of Newark, New Jersey, to two alcoholic parents. And she learned by necessity how to stretch a dollar bill around the block like 5 times. And she promised herself that when she got older, she would find a way to a better life. So cut to me growing up in this Italian-American home. There's like, plastic covered couches, very working class. And one of my fondest memories was me and my mom sitting at the kitchen table and cutting out coupons. So because frugality is her number one thing in life, right? She loved teaching me all the different ways that we could save money. And she also introduced me to this idea of proofs of purchase. Do you remember those from? Yes. So if you save up the fact that you bought X amount of boxes of cereal or whatever, and you mailed in this little piece of the box, that these brands would send you like a cookbook or utensils, like good stuff for free. And one of my mom's most prized possessions was this tiny little orange radio, like transistor, AM, FM. It had a little red and white straw sticking out of the side. That was the antenna. And she got it for free from Tropicana orange juice. And my mom is the kind of person who's always busy, always doing something. And so as a kid, I knew the way to find her was to listen for the sound of that tinny little radio coming like somewhere from the yard or in the house. So like one day I was walking home from school and I heard the radio off in the distance. And as I got closer, it was coming from above, which was a strange kind of orientation. And I look up and we had a 2-story house. And my mom, who's tiny, is perched on the top of the 2-story house, like very precariously. And when you're little and you're short, it just, everything is amplified. And I was like, Mom, I was like, is everything okay? Like, what are you doing up there? And in her very Jersey accent, she's like, Ree, I'm fine. The roof had a leak in it. I called the roofer. He said, it's going to be at least $500. I said, screw that. I went into the garage. There was extra asphalt. I'm going to fix it. And I was just like, okay, that's Mom. Another time I came home and I heard the radio like blaring from the back of the house. So I walked to the back of the house and I saw the bathroom. It was like the door was cracked open. And as I pushed the door open, the whole room was filled with dust particles. There was like pipes sticking out of the wall. It looked like a bomb went off. And I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, is everything okay? And she said, you know, the tiles had cracks in them and I didn't want the bathroom to get moldy. So I'm retiling the bathroom. Now, Tom, you got to get this again is the 1980s. My mom is high school educated. This was pre-internet, pre-YouTube, pre-Google. I never knew like where I would find my mom or what I'd find her doing, but that radio was always my clue. So one day, it was in the fall, and in New Jersey, you know, the daylight savings had already passed, so it was dark, and it was spooky. And I went home, and it was totally silent, and the house was dark, which is very odd for my family. So I walk in, and I had that pit in my stomach that you have when you're nervous that something's wrong. And I start walking around the house, and I didn't know where my mom was. And I felt like something bad had happened. And then all of a sudden, I heard these tiny clicks and clacks. And I followed the sound to the kitchen. And I saw my mom hunched over the kitchen table. It was like an operating room. She had like electrical tape and screwdrivers. And in a dozen or so little pieces, her Tropicana orange was completely dismantled. And I was like, Mom, that's your little radio. What happened? Are you okay? Is it broken? And she said, oh, it's fine. You know, the antenna was off and the dial was not working right. So I'm fixing it. And that was the first time I thought to ask the question that I really needed to ask all along, which was, how do you know how to do so many different things that you've never done before, yet no one's showing you how to do them? And she like put down her screwdriver and she cocked her head and she looked at me and she's like, what are you talking about? It's not that big of a deal. Nothing in life is that complicated. You can do anything you set your mind to. If you roll up your sleeves, you get in there and you do it. Everything is figureoutable. And I was like just in that moment. And I will tell you this, I don't know, Tom, for sure, whether she said those 3 words or that's what my childhood brain heard and translated, because you know how we do that kind of thing. But that phrase got embedded in my soul on such a deep level, and I just said it over and over again. And then I realized, as I became an adult, it's been the single biggest driving force of my life. Like from, you know, continuing to get rejected on like sports teams and cheerleading and going again and again, and like getting out of an abusive relationship when it was like my first love, to like getting into classes in college, to getting every part-time job I've ever gotten, every full-time job I've ever gotten, getting out of relationships, into relationships, building the entire business. Like I still use that phrase every single day.
Because you made it this far in the video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
For 10 more amazing reels from Gabby Bernstein, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe. I'll see you there.
Appreciation creates more of what you want. So if you've got something good going on, go appreciate it even more. Talk about it, thrive in it, write about it, feel it.